United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. First, this evening, we have a normal public comment portion of the meeting. If anybody would like to address the board, welcome to come to the podium. We have a new podium tonight, pretty stylish there. Very nice. So,
Awesome.
It's got Villager on it.
Nice job.
okay, well, no one is coming forth to speak, so I will close the public comment portion of the meeting, and we will move next to a presentation. We have an opportunity to be involved in a Fast New York grant, and this would be headed by WIDA, with the town and the village participating in this. And so I would like our WIDA Acting Director, Leanne Kimber, if you would step to the podium and let us know what is going on. It's been a very quick process. We first heard about this 1 week and 2 days ago, last Tuesday. So things are moving fast, but she's here to present and let us know what's going on.
That's good. I don't know, is this on?
Yes.
It is?
Yeah.
No, it's not blue.
Should be blue, that little rim.
Does it sound like anything?
See Heather, see this color?
Oh,
There
there
it
it is.
There
There
you
it is.
go.
Now it's on? Oh, yes, that's better. No problem. So hi, thank you for having me tonight. My name is Leanne Kimber. I'm with Colliers Engineering and Design. When Matt Chatfield left his position as the executive director of WIDA back in December, our firm was engaged to serve as our firm and me as the acting executive director while that position is vacant. So for the last couple of months, we've been supporting the board with some of their ongoing initiatives, as well as helping them to envision sort of the future and enhance the structure of their organization and their board. When we took on this role, we didn't know that such an opportunity as this was going to be coming down the pike, so we're very excited about it, to be involved. So anyway, that's why I'm here tonight. As the mayor mentioned, there is a Fast New York grant, which is a program run by the state that is aimed at making shovel-ready sites more shovel-ready to draw in investors and support redevelopment. ESD feels that the Xerox site is an excellent candidate and very well aligned with the goals of that program. And so they came to the town, the village, and WIDA on March 4th and asked us, or strongly encouraged us, to apply for this grant in the amount of $9 million. Since then, that number, it does move fast, that number has increased to $9.8 million with a couple of additional elements of the scope that they thought that we should consider. So in terms of what this project would include, if you all have handouts in front of you, but if you can see on the map up here, it's improving Orchard Street and Panama Road, which are on the Xerox campus right now. Enhancing a multimodal trail on Phillips Road from roughly 104 to the town's Parks and Recreation Center. Improving Mitchell Dean along its entire length. Extending Chiota Drive, which is a town road, to 250, and extending Bolter Industrial Parkway, also a town road, to Basket Road. In addition to that, part of what is considered a part of this project, although it's almost complete already, is the town's sanitary sewer upgrades in the area of Basket and Salt Road. I believe that is completing around April of this year, but that's about a $6 billion investment that they're considering equity in this effort to prepare this site from an infrastructure perspective for investment and redevelopment. So Heather, if you want to go to the next slide. This is a rough breakdown of how all of that money would break out on these various roadways and by jurisdiction. So I'm going to look on mine so that I'm not turning away from the microphone. Generally, the way it breaks down is about $3.8 million would go towards village projects, and I believe about $5.2 million would go towards town projects. That does not include that $6.3 million that they've already invested in sewer upgrades. What's not listed here is the $500,000 that we've discussed with ESD for some electrical service upgrades, and we're still learning more about that. I learned about that maybe 45 minutes before I came here. The Village's HUD grant they've secured in the amount of $500,000 for Phillips, Orchard, and Panama is also not included on this list, though it is understood that that money would be used as the Village's match for this grant. So the grant that they've proposed to us is, I think this turned off again. That's weird. Can you hear me? Yes. Requires at least a 10% match with the town's $6.3 million equity investment and the Village's, do you want me to stop talking?
No, let's
Okay,
continue.
I think it's dead. I think it's almost dead.
But we just got it today, so.
I mean, as long as you all can hear me, but I don't think these people will be able to hear me.
Just
I'll
take
just
one.
switch. Thank you, Jake. I need to hear what you say.
I do have questions for you.
Okay.
Okay. Now? Yes. Okay.
Sorry.
So, where was I? So the town's $6.3 million that they've already invested, the Village's $500,000 federal grant that they've been awarded would serve as the match for this ESD state-funded grant. So that's kind of how the funding breaks down. The reason this is a very exciting opportunity and a really important effort is, if you go to the next slide, I think you're all familiar with the Webster BOA nomination study. This is the project that really starts to unlock this site for redevelopment and reinvestment. There's a lot that we know needs to happen in this area in order to realize the vision that was shown in that study, and that was the result of amazing, community involvement from all of you. But realizing that vision takes a lot of things. Improving these roads, dedicating them to the village, bringing them up to code, and making it possible for some of this land to be subdivided and redeveloped is a key part of that vision. It's not the only part. We've been talking with the village about these many puzzle pieces that need to fit together. There's an easement on this property right now that needs to be lifted in order for it to be used for other types of development beyond commercial or industrial. There is part of the site that is partially in the town that needs to be moved into the village so that it's easier for developers to only be working with one municipality instead of two. There may be rezoning that needs to happen. There's a lot of steps. So I don't want to say that this grant is the answer to all of your prayers, but it is a really key component to getting towards that finish line. So that's why it's so important for all of you to understand the magnitude of it and for us to move fast, because FAST is not just an acronym, it is a very accurate description of what this grant is, and work towards applying for this grant by April 1st. So just to do our reverse Gantt chart, we first heard about this on March 4th. On March 6th, the Webster Economic Development Alliance voted to submit a letter of intent. We submitted a letter of intent to apply for the grant at 10:30. By noon, we had an approval that yes, you're eligible, you're ready to go. Between now and then, between now then and April 1st, we're gonna have 4 board meetings, 2 with the village and 2 with the town. This is our first one with you, to make board members aware of what needs to happen by April 1st, and then at our next meeting to present you with a resolution that basically will act as a precursor to a development agreement between the village and WIDA, basically authorizing WIDA to apply for this grant, to manage the grant if it's awarded, and to kind of serve as the pass-through for this money that will be used to reconstruct these roads. Just see if there's anything I missed. We have had some meetings. The last one was on Tuesday, Town, Village, and WIDA, with their attorneys to talk about what would be included in this resolution. It's not something that ESD had a template for, so we kind of sat around the table and put together bullet points of what we thought should be included, shared that with ESD. They gave us some feedback about what else they thought should be included. And that's this handout that I've given you, and if you go to the 2 slides from now, let's get that one. I don't know, that's a lot of text, I don't know if you'll be able to read it, but there's a handout at the back if anyone wants to see it, and you all have one in front of you. that basically outlines what would be included in this resolution. So the first paragraph is, everything I've told you tonight. WIDA would apply for this grant on behalf of the town and village for the roads and the sewer projects that I've listed there. If it's awarded, the town or the village, town and the village, would be expected to provide upfront financing, not for the whole amount of money, but for increments of money that would then be reimbursed through what's called an interest account at key project milestones, and those milestones will be worked out with ESD. But there would have to be some construction financing that is presented by the village in order to put up the money for the improvements, which would then be reimbursed. Second bullet point, affirmation that the applicant commits to a minimum of a 10% equity in the project. So between, as we said, the town and the village's grants and previous investments, that's well covered. Reference to the fact that the development agreement would be subject to the terms and conditions of the master road dedication and land transfer agreement between Xerox, the town, and the village. So I think you're all familiar with this. You all probably talked about it a lot and voted on it. But that agreement really lays out the process by which each of these roadways would be dedicated to either the town or the village and how they would be improved. There's a key line in there that says this will start happening once there's sufficient funding in place. And now with this, if it's awarded, there will be sufficient funding. So we would expect that that would start to happen. I'll pause there for a second. We know what that means for the village. On the one hand, it's an amazing opportunity, as I said, to unlock this site for redevelopment, to realize the vision that would be the result of so much great planning. On the other hand, you're taking on more responsibility, more risk. You have to manage these roadways, you have to maintain them, plow them, etc. I think it's about another 1.5 miles of roadway that the village would then be responsible for between Orchard, Panama, and Mitchell Dean. So I recognize that that's not without, its challenges, and that is something that would take place. The last, 8 bullets or so are kind of a little more boilerplate. We would describe the roles and responsibilities of each party. We would talk about why this agreement exists, what WIDA would be providing as part of this agreement, what the funding amount would be, what the payment terms would be, and what, compliance and reporting requirements, how we would solve disputes, how we would terminate or amend the agreement. More standard contract stuff. I do want to pause on the funding amount piece. So going back to what the grant can cover, the grant covers design and construction. So that's great. Grant administration is not a small feat for a grant this size and this detailed. What ESD has recommended and what I think the town and the village leadership are in support of is that because WIDA would be managing this grant, we would be responsible for reporting and requirements and making sure that everything is documented correctly. Knowing the magnitude of that effort, there would need to be some additional fee that is paid to WIDA in order to manage that grant, and that would come from the town and the village. That number, we don't have that at this moment. If you've done previous grants, you can kind of factor in what the magnitude of it would be, but that's a number that we should be able to provide to you if the grant is awarded. The other cost piece that could come into play is ESD has required a 1% commitment fee on the town and village, so that's 1% of the 9.3 million. That would be kind of divided on a prorated basis based on how much money is going to each jurisdiction's roadway. So for the village, based on our last calculations, it would be about $38,000. That will go up slightly now that we're adding another $500K to the grant application. But at the end of the day, it's a little bit of skin in the game in order to demonstrate commitment to ESD that you intend to proceed with this project. I think that's everything I've need to cover. There's a $250 application fee. I think WIDA will probably just cover that out of their operating budget. But grant administration, 1% commitment fee, $250 application fee, and being able to finance parts of the project up front on a reimbursement basis. Those are the 4 things that are really being asked of in the immediate. And then in the long term, based on that agreement, we know some of these roads would be dedicated to the village. So those are kind of the 4 or 5 things that would be asked of the village. I've talked a lot. I'm going to stop. I guess I'll just close by saying our goal tonight is for me to answer as many questions as I can that you have. If I can't answer them, to take them back to ESD so I can get answers. I still have a lot of questions too, I know the town does as well. So it's this is all happening on a very iterative basis. But our goal is that, through staying in communication with all of you between now and March 27th, you would arrive here on March 27th, having reviewed a draft resolution and feeling very confident and comfortable voting to pass it so that we can apply for this grant on April 1st.
I believe that the village would be then voting on a resolution that would be very similar to the town.
Yes,
Correct, with
yeah,
verbiage to change town to village. But
basically, yeah. So these bullets that I handed out, the first half of this would change to the town of Webster. The second paragraph, the town intends, but otherwise we expect that these would be the same resolutions. And the attorney for the town, the attorney for the village are working closely together to draft that resolution.
one thing I would ask you, the $500K secured from HUD, is that the $500,000 that you were talking about addition, or is that separate and that's still to the village for use?
I wish I had an answer to that, and I just suspect that since they're both 500,000, maybe there's a relationship there, and so that's a question that I want to ask them, and we can communicate the answer to that to the town and village.
Okay. Because I know that the 1.8 million that we had is gone because of what is being offered, but I'm just wondering about that 500,000 from HUD.
Oh, the 500,000 from HUD has been awarded.
Correct.
Hopefully
Separate from the
hopefully
1.8.
that 500,000 from HUD is separate from this additional 500,000, because otherwise,
It's a problem.
the village doesn't have anything to match with.
Yeah.
You were gonna use the $500,000 federal grant as the village's matching funds. You can't use this additional 500,000 from New York State to match New York State.
No, I think we'll get clarification, but what I imagine is that there was an additional project element that needed to be included, which was the reason for the $500,000 increase. I think it's still understood and expected that the match for the village comes from that $500,000 HUD grant. But we will get clarification on that.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah, so we'll have to talk with the town,
Yeah.
that 500,000 is supposed to be for electrical engineering, master planning for future or eventual power upgrades. If you read the supervisor's column in the Webster Herald this week, he talked about how they need more power to the Xerox campus to develop it. And this would start that process to do a study and get the engineering done. But we'd have to talk to the town, Are we gonna split it 50-50? Is it, I don't know what,
Yeah,
how the 500,000.
if you add that project element to the table that I showed,
Yeah,
does that fall to the town or the village, or is it split?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a
that's
good question.
something we'll have to discuss.
Yeah.
In a perfect world, he also said that they weren't able to provide.
In a perfect world,
full amount.
everything goes as planned. When would they start this project? I don't know if you can answer that question, like September 1st,
Yeah.
December, or whatever.
I could see it being sooner. They haven't said, it's, the program, Fast New York, is a rolling basis, so it's not like on an annual basis that you apply in this month and you get awarded in that month. It just kind of is as projects come in. So for that reason, I would expect it would be a pretty quick turnaround, but in terms of an exact date, I couldn't say. I wouldn't be surprised if we knew by April, if we applied on April 1st and we knew by April 30th whether or not it had been awarded. But that's kind of a crystal ball question.
Okay. Time will tell.
Time will tell. Other questions? No? Okay. Do you want me to stay up here for the second bit, the bow of it? I don't know if there's gonna be questions on that, but I can come back up. All right. Well, thanks for your time, and,
What's the timeline as far as construction?
The grant goes in April.
Yeah.
We gotta wait.
She was still saying one thing, sorry.
no, I'm good. Are there other questions,
No, the
or?
question was, when would things begin? Well, this is an intent we're saying, yes, we're interested. We haven't even made.
Right. You gotta be awarded.
Not yet. But,
I don't want it to drag on forever.
but it will happen very quickly once
Yeah.
everything is signed.
I'm sure it will be fast once everything, but I mean, I think if we apply April 1st, say we hear, if we were awarded by April 30th, we still need to then develop these development agreements between WIDA and the town, WIDA and the village. I assume there are some contracts with ESD, so there will be some paperwork before we can actually hit the ground running. But I do expect all of that to happen faster than you may have experienced in prior grants that the village has been awarded.
So before the 27th, so we've got 500,000 thing, just to be clear. And then the 38,000, or now maybe 40 something because of the extra 500,000. Obviously, that should not be a concern. The fund balance and the health of the village, that piece is not a concern. Yeah, we have plenty for that. So I just think it's 30 and 500.
Sounds good. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Leanne.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leanne. Sure we will be.
Do you need me to stay for the BOA or no? You got the BOA resolution
Stay
today?
around.
No, we're just making a resolution. I think most of us are fairly aware of it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, probably. So there's.
Necessary. Okay, we'll start with number one, resolution to authorize publication of a notice for public comment concerning the official designation of the Reimagine Webster Brownfield Opportunity Area Plan. You have that, I believe, in front of you, and so you say that whereas public comment is sought concerning the plan and nomination, therefore, be it resolved, the Village of Webster Board of Trustees present as follows. One, a legal notice of applicant's intent to request designation of the New York Department of State of the Reimagine Webster Brownfield Opportunity Area as an official Brownfield Opportunity Area, and it shall be published in the Webster Herald on or before March 19th, 2025. And a 30-day period will be open from March 19th to April 18th, 2025, to allow residents to review the plan and provide comment. Copies of the BOA nomination document are currently available for review and download on the Village of Webster website. And also hard copies are available in the village office located at 28 West Main Street. So, if you have no problem with that, I would ask then for a motion to authorize the publication of the BOA Opportunity Area Village of Webster Board of Trustee resolution.
I'll make that.
I'll second.
Good luck on that one.
Trustee Lauer and Trustee Abolito.
Aye.
Trustee Belkane.
Aye.
Trustee Lancy. Mayor Byers.
Aye.
Motion passes.
So Heather, I don't know if it goes through Leanne or not, but a copy of the resolution and the legal notice needs to get sent to the Department of State. Either
She said I
directly-
can- I
should it
have to
go
take-
directly to Melissa Keller or through Leanne, I'm not sure.
Okay, I'll CC both. She told me, I thought you were in on that, but I thought, she said I would handle any posting and things like that. So, I'll send it to
We know
them.
you're handling it.
Oh, I thought you said you didn't know if they were doing this part, but,
No, you gotta send it to the Herald, so it gets
I'm
published.
sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you were saying you weren't sure if she was doing that part.
No,
Okay.
they're definitely not doing it, and the town's not doing it. So the village, you have to send it to the Herald,
Okay, yeah.
but either, they need a copy of the resolution and the legal notice to then forward to the Department of State as part of the designation application.
Okay. You got it. And this is going tomorrow, correct?
Yeah, it's gotta go in tomorrow so they get published
Okay.
next Thursday.
I'll do it when I go downstairs.
Okay, at this particular point, I'd like to change the order of business, and because we have one of our members needing to leave early, I would like to move to item number 5, and I would propose a resolution to enter into executive session for the purpose of discussion of the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person.
It's nice stuff.
I'd like to do that now, so that we have a full board available.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Trustee Lauer?
Aye.
Trustee Abolito?
Aye.
Trustee Belkane?
Aye.
Trustee Lancy? Mayor Byers?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, I would ask that